Today I talk about solitude inspired from Arthur Schopenhauer. Long before modern society started treating solitude like a problem that needs to be fixed, Arthur called it the highest achievement of the human spirit. Being truly alone doesn't mean feeling empty, it means being completely free. Today's world makes us afraid of being alone. It tells us that silence means something is wrong, that being by yourself is a problem that needs fixing, and that a life without constant attention or approval isn't meaningful. We live in a culture that profits from keeping us distracted and afraid of missing out. But we have forgotten something important. There's a big difference between feeling lonely and choosing to be alone. Loneliness, if you see, feels like a lack, but solitude can be something powerful and freeing. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. It feels empty, like you are disconnected, left out, and unseen. It is not something you choose, it is just happens when you feel like the world has turned away from you. But solitude is different. Solitude is the good side of being alone. It is a choice. It can be full, peaceful, and independent. It means understanding that you are not empty when you are by yourself. You are simply spending time with the one person who can truly understand you is yourself. Yes, long before modern psychology started using medicine for anxiety, and the self industry tried to sell easy happiness, but Arthur Schopenhauer, a 19th century thinker known for his pessimistic view of life, he looked at the world with doubt and found peace mainly within his own thoughts. Arthur teaches us how to protect ourselves. He shows that the world can be full of unnecessary suffering, and sometimes being alone keeps you safe from the chaos and irrational behavior of others. He makes it clear that wanting to step away isn't weakness, it can be reasonable response to a difficult world. If you are listening to this, you are probably someone who is very sensitive and thoughtful. You may feel tired of shallow conversations, uncomfortable pretending to be fit in, and strangely calm when you are alone, like when you hear rain outside your window. This is here to remind you that there's a nothing wrong with you. Preferring books over crowds doesn't make you strange. Finding it hard to deal with the noise of the world can actually mean you think and feel more deeply. When, yes, we will look at simple discipline line of life of Arthur Schopenhauer to understand why thoughtful people often choose distance from others. This is not a lecture, it is more like a calm reflection. It is meant to slow your mind, ease your thoughts, and help you feel more at peace. As you listen, try to let go of your day, let go of the pressure to perform or to be understood by others. For this time, you don't need to worry about how the world sees you. You can just be yourself. Think of this as your own quiet space where the only approval you need is your own. This is what it means to be comfortable being alone. It starts with understanding that the world inside your mind can be deeper and more meaningful than the world outside. To understand why someone would choose to shut the world out, we first need to see what they experienced when they opened themselves to it. Like we will go through the Arthur Schopenhauer inspiration. From the inspiration of Arthur Schopenhauer, to understand Arthur is like entering a room where the bright false light of the world has been shut out. People often wrongly say he was just a bitter person who hated others because he didn't fit in. But this is a shallow view. He did not truly hate people. He felt deep sadness about them. When he looked at society, social gathering, polite tasks, and the constant struggle for status, he didn't see real civilization. He saw a kind of performance where people hide their pain and pretend to be happy. His idea of solitude came from real life, not comfort. It was shaped by personal struggle. He was born into a rich merchant family, and people expected him to become successful in society and enjoy public life. But he was different inside. A big influence in his early life was his relationship with his mother, Joanna Schopenhauer. She was a famous writer who enjoyed social life, attention, and public admiration. She loved being around people, enjoying fame and the energy of society. On the other hand, Arthur Schopenhauer was drawn to silence, solitude, and harsh truth. His mother, Joanna Schopenhauer, was the opposite. She enjoyed social life. Yes, she enjoyed social life, attention, and being around powerful and famous people. In a way, they were completely different in nature. Because of this, their relationship became very strained and turned into constant argument. At one point, there was a even a physical fight, you can say, where she pushed him down the stairs. After that incident, he got up, left, and never spoke to her again. This break with his mother was more than just a family problem for him. It became an important life lesson. He started to believe that even close relationships can involve misunderstanding, jealousy, and emotional harm. From this, he concluded that even, yes, that if even a mother may not truly understand her child, then it is even harder to expect understanding from strangers. He began to feel that being part of society often forces people to compromise who they really are. To be liked, in his view, often means being a bit fake. To be accepted, people usually have to agree with the majority, even when they don't truly believe it. Arthur Schopenhauer looked at society and saw people acting politely but still hurting each other emotionally. He compared them to hedgehogs that come close for warmth but end up hurting each other with their sharp spikes. Yes, this is why many modern introverts relate to him. He helps explain the tiredness you feel after spending too much time socializing. He also understands that feeling of relief when you come home, close the door, and finally feel safe and alone. That feeling is not something wrong with you, that is a natural reaction to how life works. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that behind everything in the world there is a force he called the will. This is not a calm or logical force, it is a blind and endless desire that always wants more, never ending. He saw this force everywhere in nature. You can see, for example, plants compete for space and water, animals fight to survive, and stronger animals hunt weaker ones. Yes, he also saw it in human life. People compete for success, sometimes harm others for promotion or speak badly about others to feel better about themselves. According to him, this will is never satisfied. It always keeps wanting more. Because of this, life is often full of struggle and dissatisfaction. He described this idea in a very deep and poetic way. He described the world not as something created in a kind or divine way, but as if it were a place of punishment where people are forced to live because they were born. This sounds very dark, but there is a strange comfort in his honesty. We are often told that the world is good, beautiful, people are kind, and if we are unhappy, it is our own fault. Arthur Schopenhauer says something different, very different. He suggests you feel unhappy because life itself is difficult by nature. You feel tired because you are constantly pretending and trying to fit in. You feel exhausted because you are resisting the constant pressure of desire and struggle in life. When you feel that the world is cold or that human relationships are often shallow and based on exchange, people may call you negative or depressed, but he would say you are simply seeing things clearly. He turned this kind of thinking into wisdom. In his view, the person who happily follows the crowd without question is actually the one who is mistaken, living in illusion. Yes, the person who goes back to their room, looks inward and faces difficult thoughts is the one who, in his view, understands reality. He doesn't withdraw because he is weak or scared, but because he values himself and doesn't want to take part in what he sees as a corrupted world. Yes, he believed that if life is full of suffering, then the sensible response is to reduce how much you are exposed to it. He built a philosophy not about fixing the world because he thought the basic force of life cannot be changed, but about protecting yourself from it. In his view, your room is more than just a physical space. It becomes a kind of barrier between you and the noise, dishonesty, and chaos of the society. By closing the door, you are not escaping life, you are removing distractions so you can think more clearly. To understand why people often feel empty or restless, imagine a pendulum. Schopenhauer used this idea to describe life. He said, life is not a steady path towards happiness. Instead, it swings back and forth between the two states, pain and boredom. Yes, when you want something, you feel pain because you don't have it yet. Yes, when you get it, the excitement fades and you feel bored. This constant cycle he believed is how human desire works. When you want something, you feel a sense of lack. You suffer because something is missing. If you are hungry, you feel the pain of hunger. If you are lonely, you feel the pain of being alone. If you are poor, you feel worried about money. This is the one side of life, the pain that comes from wanting something you don't have. He said that desire keeps pushing you forward, making you believe that once you get a job, a partner, or money, you will finally be happy. But what happens after you get it? He says that happiness doesn't stay. The moment you get what you wanted, it starts to feel normal. The excitement disappears and the something else takes its place, boredom. This is the other side of life. Boredom is not just being unoccupied, it can feel like a deep emptiness or restlessness. It happens when there is nothing left to chase and your mind feels empty. When you are struggling, life feels meaningful because you have a goal. But when you are safe, comfortable, and have everything you need, that sense of purpose can disappear. This can leave you with a heavy feeling of time passing and the sense that life has no built in meaning except for constantly wanting things that never fully satisfy you. He argued that this is what drives much of human behavior. It also explains why people are often afraid of being alone. When someone is alone, there are no distractions, no conversations, no activities, no entertainment. They are left with their own thoughts. In that silence, a person may start to feel an inner emptiness, as if they are just existing without purpose, unless they are chasing something or staying busy. Look at how people behave in groups, at parties or social gatherings. There is often constant talking and noise. Silence feels uncomfortable, so people try to fill it. He suggests that this is not always because people deeply love being together. Often it is because being around others help them avoid facing themselves. In a way, people gather not just for connection but to escape the discomfort of their own thoughts. He observed that many people don't have a strong inner world. In his view, their minds feel empty unless something from the outside fills them, like entertainment, conversation, or activity. Because of this, when they are alone, even for a short time, they may feel uncomfortable or restless. They quickly try to distract themselves by watching TV, scrolling on their phones, or calling someone, not for anything important but just to avoid silence. He believed that this fear of boredom leads people to consume shallow entertainment, spread gossip, or even develop unhealthy habits just to avoid feeling empty. Many would rather feel something unpleasant than feeling nothing at all. In his view, some people would even prefer stress, drama, or conflict over sitting quietly with their own thoughts. But he also believed that there's a difference with deeper or more thoughtful people who are able to face silence without fear and reflect inwardly instead of constantly escaping it. The philosopher, the artist, or highly creative person, what Arthur called a higher type of mind, does not feel afraid of being alone. For them, an empty room is not really empty, it is filled with their own thoughts, imagination, and inner life. When life is not painful and the mind is not chasing desire, they do not fall into boredom. Instead, they use that quiet time to think deeply and explore their own ideas and inner world. For an average person, being alone can feel like a kind of person because they feel stuck with their own thoughts, find them boring or uncomfortable. But for a more thoughtful person, solitude feels like a rich space because they enjoy their own company and ideas. This is why Arthur suggested that the more developed a person's inner world is, the less they depend on outside stimulation. The more you have within yourself, the less you need from the outside world. If you are able to enjoy your own thoughts and keep yourself mentally engaged, you don't always need constant social activity or entertainment. In that case, you step off the cycle of endless wanting and boredom. Arthur suggests that this is an important realization for inner peace. You don't have to be afraid of silence or keep distracting yourself just to fall asleep or escape from thoughts. Instead, you can notice the cycle of life, wanting something, getting it, feeling satisfied for a short time, then becoming bored again, and simply observe it instead of being controlled by it. He says boredom is just the mind becoming quiet when desire stops. If you can stay with that quiet without running away, you may find a deeper sense of freedom, the ability to just exist without always needing to become something else or chase something new. From this perspective, human life also faces a different challenge in relationship and how we deal with each other in this constant cycle of desire and restlessness. Yes, Arthur explained a famous idea called the porcupine dilemma using a simple story. Imagine a group of porcupines on a very cold winter day. They are freezing, so they move closer to each other to stay warm. But when they get too close, their sharp spikes hurt each other. Because of this pain, they move away again. Soon they feel very cold again, so they come back together. But the same problem repeats. The warmth brings them together, and the pain pushes them apart. They keep moving between these two problems, loneliness and closeness, and that hurts. In the end, they slowly find a middle distance where they are close enough to stay warm but far enough not to hurt each other. Arthur said this balance is like politeness in human society. He used this story to explain human relationships. The cone represents loneliness, and the spikes represent the pain and problems that come with being close to people. Most people feel this tension. They want company, but that too much closeness can also cause stress or conflict. People often rush into relationship, marriage, and social gatherings not always because of deep love but because they are afraid of being alone. They want the comfort of being with others. Arthur used this idea of porcupines to explain this. The spikes represent the problem. Every person has rudeness, ego, selfishness, pride, and misunderstanding. When people get too close, these flaws start to hurt each other. That is why relationships can sometimes lead to pain, betrayal, or frustration. This is not unusual, it is a part of human nature. To deal with this, society created manners and politeness, saying these things like please, thank you, and how are you help people interact without getting too close or hurting each other emotionally. Politeness creates a safe distance between people. Arthur also adds an important idea. Some people are different. They are individuals who have strong inner lives. They don't depend too much on others for comfort because they feel full within themselves, like a porcupine that is not cold. They don't need to crowd others for warmth. This inner strength comes from knowledge, thinking, and self understanding. Such people can stay at a distance from society, observe it calmly, and still feels complete without needing constant closeness or approval. Helps explain why some of the greatest thinkers in history were often very alone. It is not because they hated people, it is because they didn't need constant social contract to feel okay. They were able to stay steady on their own. Arthur suggests that if you prefer spending time alone, reading, thinking, or creating, you are not anti-social. It simply means you have enough inner strength and mental richness to be by yourself without feeling empty. After seeing how crowded social life can be and how it can also bring stress and conflict, you may decide that solitude is better than the discomfort of bad company. This choice is seen as a rational one. Choosing to stay apart in a world that constantly pushes people to fit in is not weakness, it can be a sign of strength. It shows that you are able to support yourself emotionally and mentally even without constant outside attention or approval. This needs one of Schopenhauer's more strong and controversial ideas about different types of people and how they think and live. Arthur did not judge people based on money, family, background, or social status. Instead, he looked at something else, how comfortable someone is with being alone. He suggested a kind of mental difference between people. This idea can feel strong or harsh, but it is meant to describe behavior, not to insult anyone. In his view, people who depended heavily on others often struggle with being alone because they feel empty inside. When they are by themselves, they get bored or restless, so they constantly seek distraction like news, gossip, social media, or being around other people to avoid that feeling. He compared this to someone who always needs small bits of stimulation from outside, like attention or entertainment, just to feel okay. On the other hand, he describes another type of person who has a rich inner life. This person enjoys their own thoughts, imagination, and creativity. When they are alone, they do not need they do not feel empty, they feel active and full of ideas. For them, Too much noise or social interaction can feel disturbing because it interrupts their inner world. So, in simple terms, he's saying that people differ in how much they depend on the outside world versus how much they can rely on their own mind and inner life. He uses the idea of center of gravity also to explain how different people find happiness. For many people, their center of gravity is outside themselves. This means their happiness depends on external things, other people's opinion, their job, relationship, money, or what is happening in the world. Because of this, they often feel unstable. If those things go wrong or disappear, they feel unhappy or lost. But for a wiser or more self reliant person, the center of gravity is inside themselves. Their stability comes from their own mind, character, imagination, and understanding. They don't depend completely on outside approval or stimulations to feel okay. This is why such people may seem less social. It is not because they dislike others, but because they don't need others to feel complete. He compares this to someone who already has everything they need at home. They don't need to go out searching for it. In the same way, a person with a rich inner self, which inner life does not rely on constant social stimulation. In his view, true freedom means being independent from outside approval. If your happiness depends on others, you are controlled by them in some way. But if you are self sufficient, you are in control of your own life and mind. He reminds us that the most valuable things in life are the ones you cannot get from others and therefore cannot be taken away. If you feel a sense of relief when plans get cancelled, or you enjoy staying up late just to experience quiet time alone, this shows a strong ability to enjoy your own company. Society might call this being withdrawn or isolated, but Arthur would see it as a kind of inner freedom. He also says this type of personality comes with both strengths and challenges. A person who enjoys solitude deeply can go, yes, can also feel emotions more strongly. They may notice life's pain and sadness more clearly than others. In contrast, people who are always busy and distracted may not feel things as deeply. He believes that sensitivity is a heavy responsibility but also something valuable. In the end, what matters most is what you have within yourself. When everything outside, friends, work, status goes away, you are left with your own mind and awareness. Some people feel afraid of this because it feels empty, but others see it as a returning to their inner world. Each time you choose quiet thinking over distraction or reading over noise, you are not escaping life, you are strengthening your inner world. He also redefines the idea of freedom. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, but for him, real freedom is deeper. It means not being forced by constant desires, pressures, or outside expectations. It is not about having many choices, but about not being controlled by them. He describes freedom as being free from the influence of other people's expectations. He suggests that whenever we are around others, we naturally adjust ourselves. We change how we act, speak, and even think to avoid conflict to fit in. In this way, we are always to some extent shaped by other people's presence, even people we care about. But when you are completely alone, that pressure disappears. There's a no one to adjust yourself for. In that sense, silence is not empty, it is the relief of no longer being controlled by others. He compares social life to a kind of constant performance at work, at home, or in society. People often play roles being the good employee, the good partner, or the good citizen. This can involve smiling when you don't feel like it, yes, agreeing when you don't want to, or hiding your true thoughts. Solitude, in his view, is the moment when you stop performing. You don't have to act or pretend. You can simply be yourself without explanation or pressure. For him, this is real freedom, not just doing whatever you want, but no longer being forced to act for others. Arthur describes a deeper kind of freedom as freedom from others people's gaze. Yes, when someone else is present, you naturally becomes aware of how you look and act. You start thinking about your posture, your clothes, and how you are being judged. In this way, you become like an object being observed. But when you are completely alone and the door is closed, that feeling disappears. You are no longer being watched. You are simply yourself, a thinking, aware person. In that moment, you can be imperfect, strange, or emotional without worrying about judgment because no one is there to see it. Yes, he says this is a real freedom, the freedom to live accordingly to your own mind instead of the rhythm of society. In daily life, we are always adjusting, responding when spoken to, laughing at jokes, following schedules, and matching other people's pace. But in solitude, time belongs to you. You can read slowly, sit quietly, or think for hours without interruption. You control your own time completely. He calls this negative happiness. At first, the negative may sound bad, but he means something different. Most people chase excitement and pleasure, but he believes those feelings don't last and often lead to disappointment. Instead, negative happiness is the removal of suffering, no stress, no pressure, no constant noise or demands. It is like the relief you feel when a loud sound suddenly stops or when you take off tight shoes after a long day. It is not that extra pleasure, but the absence of discomfort. For sensitive people, this calm can feel even better than excitement. It feels like peace. Yes. He also says that closing your door is more meaningful than it seems. It is not just a physical action, it is a mental break from the outside world. The pressure, expectation, news, work, and social demands all stop at this point. Inside your room, you create a space where those pressures cannot reach you. In this space, you are not lonely, you are free from burden, you are resting from the effort of constantly dealing with the world. This is what he calls the peace of solitude. And to understand why this quiet space matters so much, we also have to understand how overwhelming the outside world can be. He strongly disliked noise. He didn't just find it annoying. He experienced it as something that seriously disrupted thinking. He believed noise was one of the biggest enemies of deep thought. In his view, it could suddenly break a person's concentration and destroy complex ideas that were forming in the mind. Yes, he even criticized everyday sounds of his time, like horse drawn carriages and the cracking of whips in the streets. While most people saw these as a normal background noise, he sees them as a sharp interruptions that could instantly break a chain of thought. He gave an example also. Imagine you are close to having an important insight or building a complex idea in your mind. Then suddenly a loud sound interrupts you. That moment of thinking disappears and cannot easily be recovered. The idea is lost now. He believed that people with deeper, more sensitive minds are more affected by noise because their thoughts are more detained and fragile. In contrast, people who think less deeply are less disturbed because their minds are not holding on to complex ideas. Today, he would likely see modern life as even more noisy. Yes. Instead of horse carriage, we now have constant digital interruptions like phone notifications, message, ads, email, and endless scrolling. He would see this modern noise not just as a sound but as a constant mental interruption that keeps breaking attention and disturbing thought. He said that old world noise like a carriage whip only affected your ears. It made a sound, but it didn't deeply control your mind. Modern noise, however, it is different. Phone notifications, message, and others don't just make sound, they demand your attention. Every ping pushes you to look, react, or respond. This creates a constant state of interruption. He believed that when a person is interrupted again and again and again, their mind becomes scattered. They cannot think deeply or create anything great. It is like a mirror that has been broken into pieces. It still reflects things but only in fragments. When your attention is constantly disturbed, your thoughts also become shallow. You lose the ability to think deeply or stay focused for long periods. Instead of deep thinking, you stay on the surface of everything, always reacting quickly to what appears next. This is why constant noise feels so tiring. Each interruption forces your mind to restart, and you lose the depth you had before. You are always recovering but never fully returning to a deep state of thinking. Yes, he would say that this kind of life is shallow, living only by reacting to outside events instead of thinking deeply. To protect your inner peace, he suggests being very careful about noise and interruptions. Every distraction you allow takes a part of your attention, so silence becomes something you must actively protect. He believed that protecting your mind is very important. He saw the mind as something like a temple, and he felt that noise and distraction damage its peace. From his point of view, turning off your phone or closing the window to block outside noise is not a small or passive action. It is a way of protecting your mental space from constant interruption. At first, when everything becomes quiet, you may feel uncomfortable or empty. This is normal because you are used to constant attention, constant stimulation. But if you stay with the silence, that feeling slowly settles. After a while, you may begin to notice your own thoughts again, your own inner voice that was previously hidden by constant noise and distractions. He also wanted to show the idea in real life, not just in theory. Looking at his own lifestyle, people often misunderstand solitude. They think that without work, social life, or structure, a person becomes lazy or disorganized. He showed that living alone when is not easy or lazy. It actually requires strong discipline. His daily life was very structured. He followed, yes, it was not random or careless. He followed a strict routine to protect his peace of mind. Like a guard protecting a gate, he believed that if you don't control your routine, the outside world will control you instead. He usually woke up between 7 and 8 in the morning. He avoided rushing or checking other people's work immediately after waking up because he believed that the morning is the clearest time for thinking. He used this time, yes, to think and write his own ideas before being influenced by others. At noon, he played the flute. This shows that he also valued music. He believed that music is special because it connects directly to emotion beyond logical thinking. Every day, he also went for a walk with his white poodle. He named his dogs Atma, a word meaning soul. He didn't just see the dog as a pet, but as a companion that represented simplicity and natural living. He admired dogs because they live in the present. They don't worry about the past or future, they simply exist. In contrast, he saw humans as more complicated, often hiding their true feelings behind social behavior. To him, the dog's honesty felt peaceful and real. People around him thought his lifestyle was strange, but he saw it is as a way of living truthfully and peacefully. After his walk, he would eat at a local restaurant, even in public. He kept emotional distance, staying calm and independent in his own inner world. Arthur had a small story that shows how he viewed society. When he wanted to eat at a restaurant, he would sometimes place a gold coin on the table before his meal. People around him noticed it and wondered what it meant. After finishing his meal, he would simply put the coin back in his pocket. One day, a waiter asked him about this habit. Arthur said it was like a personal bet. He had decided that if he heard the nearby guest talk about something meaningful rather than shallow topics like gossip or trivial matters, he would donate the coin. But he rarely had to give it away. This way, his way of quietly observing people and confirming his belief that most conversations were not very deep. Instead of getting angry, he treated it as a simple observation. In the evenings, he returned home and read books, but he didn't read newspaper or popular stories. He preferred great thinkers like Plato, Kant, and ancient Indian texts like the Upanishads. He believed reading great books it is like talking to a great minds from history. Instead of spending time on gossips, you can learn from some of the deepest thinkers in human history. His daily routine was not a restriction, it was a structure that gave him freedom. By keeping his outer life simple and organized, he felt more free and focused inside. Arthur explained that one of the key benefits of his way of living is removing decision fatigue, the stress of constantly deciding what to do next. He also avoided relying on unpredictable social plans. Arthur explained that one of the key benefits of his way of living is removing decision fatigue, the stress of constantly deciding what to do next. He also avoided relying on unpredictable social plans. Instead, he built a strong daily routine made of habits. This helped him move through life with stability without being easily affected by boredom or loneliness. The main lesson for modern people is not that you must copy his exact lifestyle, but that solitude needs structure. You cannot just be alone and expect to feel good. If your time is empty, you need to fill it with meaningful activities. You should create your own personal routine, simple daily habits that give your day shape. This could be a morning walk, a fixed time for reading, or a calm evening ritual. These routines make solitude feel safe and meaningful instead of empty. With structure, quiet time becomes something positive. It becomes a space where you can think, grow, and focus rather than feel lost. The message so far is that solitude is not weakness or failure. It is a way of protecting yourself from a chaotic world. You have learned ideas like the cycle of desire and boredom, the need for distance in relationship, and the importance of controlling your attention. I want you guys to understand from this point of view, being alone is not about escape, it is about building a strong inner world. This creates a kind of protected space in your life where outside stress, opinions, and pressure feel less powerful. From there, life feels more calm, focused, and under your control. Arthur Schopenhauer has given you the greatest gift a pessimistic can offer. He has given you safety. He has handed you a shield of iron and told you that it is okay to be hide behind it to protect yourself from outside noise.